Brian Kilmeade's problem, and this is a big Fox thing, is that they seem to think that the media is not criticizing Biden enough. Following, the Afghanistan pullout, which no one has yet to make a case that there is a reality that anyone could point to that would have been any better than how it went. There's all sorts of fantasy versions, Trump's magic plan. What if Trump had started vetting and moving people out last year on the timeline, knowing that he had set this date with the Taliban on May 1st and that they promised not to harm anybody until then, so they could have gotten a lot of people out, but they intentionally hamstrung the SIV program. But nowhere is there a realistic, all they had to do was go here and it would have been fine without somebody going, yeah, except it wouldn't. So, but even with all that, apparently, according to Brian Dillweed, he's accusing the media of tuning out Biden criticism. I can't wait.
Is the co-host of Fox and Friends, the great Brian Kilmeade. Brian, thanks for joining me.
Great to see you.
You got to see it. It's so fun to be on a walk across the hallway when you've lost a guest and they're like, do we have any credibility as a business channel at all at this point after Maria Bartiromo has been talking out of her rectum for months on end and is as boozed up? She's like Judge Janine with a bad check.
Listen, we get a reverse roles here. You're interviewing me.
And you look great.
Yeah, thank you. Listen, you're handsome. That was in the teleprompter, too.
That was in the teleprompter.
Handsome and at Fox Business, anyway.
Yeah, see, Larry never would have said that. So I know that had to have been in the teleprompter.
I'm much kinder.
Yes.
I want to go to this point.
Get a room.
That Edward just brought up, that on Twitter is trending empty shells Biden, right? And you see across the country in stadiums, you have people chanting, "Let's go, Brandon." We know what that refers to, which is the...
Yeah, they've been yelling it in front of children, too. It's very classy. And by the way, the Chinese military and the Russians have been hyper posting that everywhere, trying to drive up the occurrence of it. So thanks for taking the bait, guys.
Joe Biden. And Twitter will try to oftentimes suppress conservative viewpoints if they're going...
How so?
...against liberals. Is this an indication of...
I say that this is the cleanest Target I've ever been in. This is what every Target I've been in looks like right now. I mean, I know it's the same for you.
Angry Americans are what's happening in the country?
You know, what's amazing is when critical race theory started,
So apparently, this is how we find out what stuff is made in sweatshops. Because that's the stuff that's drying up. Apparently, the shirts and stuff are stitched someplace where they got blend. There's balls. You're not showing the other shelves, but the back shelf, apparently, they're not putting the shoes out or something. Is that a shoe, stretcher? Is that cardboard?
Saying it took them a week, and then I do flip onto the other channels because I like to, before you were here, I know you were contributing to another channel. I'm going to see.
So that's Kleenex. 2 boxes of Kleenex.
How's Sean doing?
Do we have a date on these pictures?
So I used to...
Because there were a bunch of these at the beginning of the pandemic as people were panic buying toilet paper, and that's this aisle.
And what happens is they'll just tune it out and not bring it up. But you cannot watch a football game now, in a college football game mostly, and not hear blank Joe Biden. Where does that come from? Is that
China and Russia and Saudi Arabia, largely. And of course, Republicans who have a total disregard for the country in that regard. Because even as many people hated Trump or whatever, they booed him at sporting events, but they wouldn't swear in public just to dig at him.
Something that Ronna McDaniel...
Yes. Trump got deposed today in a lawsuit that protesters alleged that he directed Kurt Schilling to attack them physically. So it was like a 4-hour deposition.
Put out before, is that a press release that came across? Does that mean? No, that's organic. It is, you infringe my life. You're making me wear...
How?
You're making me get vaccinated.
They're not making you get vaccinated. You're making you get tested if you don't want to get vaccinated. But then, of course, why would... it's unfair to ask Americans not to kill other Americans.
Thing you're doing this type of restriction. I have 2 kids in college. You probably have 20. I understand,
only 2.
Right? And 2 in college. So there's nonstop restrictions, nonstop emails. These kids feel totally suffocated. And last year was on hold. We're all affected.
Yeah, by no fault of Joe Biden's. They're not chanting this because of anything that Biden has done. They're chanting this because of what you've told them about what Biden has done.
And then you think,
by the way, is that Stephen Miller coming up next? Right. Let's give you a perspective.
a football game, in some stadiums they say stay home, and the others they say come out. They know they've been going back and forth to these games, and nothing's happening except for they're having a good time. And then they go.
Nothing's happening except the spike in red states because they're ignoring these protocols.
And have a good time. Things are under control. And who's been repressing them? They look at the person in the Oval Office.
And start chanting, some
right.
interesting things.
Yeah, right? You can't, that's not the most creative chant, nor do we necessarily endorse it, but it comes from their heart.
Yeah.
Does it? It comes from a lack of maturity, I would think.
Let me ask you about this.
By the way, these are the people who thought that pink hats were offensive.
When inflation kind of started, people were noticing it, but the administration said inflation isn't happening. And then they moved to it's happening, but it's transitory, which means that this is going to be short term. And now we saw.
No, not that it's short term. By the way, transitory means that it is moving through the economy. There's no distinction in the Fed or anybody else when they talk about transitory inflation. If they say it's transitory, that means it'll level back out, and the spike in it will even out. And there's a normal inflation growth that kind of tracks to wages and other stuff if they're even going up slightly. There's a spike because of COVID. That's the transitory spike. The question is, based on the supply chains, how long will it last?
This tweet, they're not talking about it being short term. They're saying it's a high class problem. This is not affecting middle class, lower income Americans who have limited discretionary income. This is affecting the rich people, Brian. How do you think that plays?
Well, it's one of the worst, the most ridiculous retweets, because Ron Klain retweeted an Obama official's tweet from Harvard. He's at Harvard now. He was an advisor to him then. Because
the Ron Klain referenced this particular one. And what they mean is like first world problems.
It just shows a total detachment. It shows an elitist quality that they label on the party, the Republican Party. But I will say what I think is so discouraging is the subplot. And that is this.
The subplot. Inflation up 5% over last year when no one was going anywhere and everybody was buying from home.
Opportunity for a leader, whether you agree with him or not, to say our problem is we're not making enough stuff here because it was too expensive. My problem.
Oh, okay. So that's the concern. All right, that's good. Bring that up. Like this kind of stuff. February 24th, 2021. Biden pressed for $37 billion to boost chip manufacturing amid shortfall. This was in February of this year. P.S. There's a bunch of these. There you go. April 13th. Biden's chip dreams face reality of the supply chain complexity. That's what we're talking about. U.S. president delivers, holds a semiconductor chip. Delivers remarks as he speaks prior to signing an executive order aimed at addressing a global semiconductor chip shortage. What was that? Sorry, overreach. To understand President Joe Biden's challenge in taming a semiconductor shortage, bedeviling automakers and other industries, consider a chip supply by U.S. firm Hyundai Motor Company's new electric vehicle, the IONIQ 5, that's marketers. You need to do something. Let's see if I can find real quick. See, I'll see. That's an older story. Chip shortage for world supply chain disaster by U.S. China. Supply chain crunch chip top global chip makers resist Biden's life. Biden officially reveals failure behind America's epic chip shortage. Okay. Inside the world's largest Taiwan semiconductor. There we go. This is This is the Taiwanese firm that is going to be building a chip factory in Arizona, I believe. Inside the Taiwan firm that makes the world's tech run, the TSMC is going to be building a factory in Arizona. Hold on. Let's see. Global made of chips. TMC is absolutely critical. Semiconductor shares grow potentially. TMC says car companies immediately need it. Scarcity of chips. The semiconductor chip shortage first got to boardrooms sweating around February when the average order delivery time for chips stretched to 15 weeks. Fix things. Liu ordered his team to triangulate different data points to decipher which customers were truly in need, which were stockpiling. The crisis sharpened focus on access to technology the U.S. invented and still designs better than anyone else, but doesn't manufacture at scale anymore. Biden's $2 trillion plan to fix American infrastructure included $50 billion to boost semiconductor competitiveness. Still in there, by the way. Originally, it was 30. They were saying they need more than 56. They ended up with 50. That's what they got in there. That was on top of the $52 billion committed under the U.S. Innovation and Competition Act, which has passed the Senate in June and is aimed squarely at competing with China in all areas of technology. We're talking about $100 billion in new capacity over the next 3 years. That's just from TSMC. It's a staggering sum, though, for Liu. The more I look at it, it's not going to be enough. Of course, that's what everybody's going to say. But so Biden, over the course of the year, has gotten over $100 billion in new chip manufacturing in the United States. Now, the question is, could Trump have done this before we found ourselves in a situation that we were, ice skating uphill against time because of COVID or because of a supply chain crash or because a war broke out in one of the countries that we get one of the parts from? Could he have done it? Of course he could have done it. Why didn't he? 2 reasons. 1, he's stupid, and he does not know more than the economists. And 2, this Taiwan company, which is the one you would have to get working on your side and to build a factory here, getting in business with them pisses off China. That's why. And Trump was trying to make his 3-phase trade deal with China. And if he did this deal with Taiwan, then it would piss off China. So he avoided it. Again, add this to the list of stuff that Biden is doing that Trump ran on or talked about, but never fucking even tried to do in any material sense.
Was 15, 20 years ago when I was in the Senate, I didn't see this happening. But now, right now, this is showing us that I have a 3-year plan to start bringing manufacturing back. And here are the industries and where I want to go. And this is what I want to do. And I know it's frustrating now. I'm frustrated, too, because I might even have had a role in that. But let's adjust to 2021. Let's get on the same page. Then all of a sudden, the sense is we're in this together, as opposed to only rich people are feeling inflation.
And by the way, that I don't believe that's what Ron Klain meant. But if you go by Biden's actual policies, not Ron Klain's tweets, it actually does what Kilmeade is insisting needs to be done. Get everybody on the same page, try to bring people together. A bunch of the people who are going to end up working at these factories or shipping shit out of these factories or bringing materials to these factories are not necessarily Biden voters.
Actually, only rich people don't feel inflation because they can absorb groceries a little bit more. They can pay a little extra for the rent-a-car. The other subplot is energy. Oil and gas used to be our strength, and they got limited because no more drilling on federal land, no more pipelines are going to go. We're going to dial that.
No more pipelines are going to go. You mean the Keystone XL pipeline, which is a Canadian shale oil pipeline, is not American fucking oil at all, and just lets Canadian oil get to market across the U.S.? How does that help us? We have to buy it. We have to stand in line to buy that oil like everybody else. The only difference is everybody else who buys that shit when it gets to the Gulf doesn't have to worry about it leaking into their aquifers. Hi. Oh my God, you attacked me. Chip just jumped at my leg. Hi, buddy. Were you trying to climb up? It totally shocked me. I was like, what the? Hi, buddy. He's like, he wants to just go to sleep in my lap. And he was like, what are you doing? I wasn't even looking down at you. Hi, buddy. Do you want to do it? Do you want to sit up here? Yeah. Hi. Hello. I see. There you go. You're going to, I want you to be like, you were trying to train you to be my cat parrot. Hi, buddy. You okay? You want down? Okay. Hold on. I got you. Okay. Just sit here. Yeah. Chip just jumped up like my leg. It was like, hey, what was that? I'm all right. He is getting big. It's good, though, because he was malnourished when we got him. He was very sickly, and his butt didn't work. And now his butt works fine. He's still a little gassy every so often. and it's brutal. I mean, it stings the eyes, very pungent. It's like the pseudohalogenic compound cyanogen. It's trichloromethane and the pseudohalogenic compound cyanogen, which mixed together forms a gas that can burn the eyes, the nose, the throat, and cause vomiting and even death. Sort of like your aftershave. Yes, Chip is definitely a foster fail. Hi, buddy. Hi. He was like had enough me or ignoring him. So everything that Kilmeade is saying here, unfortunately for him, is stuff that Biden is actually doing, and the rest of this BS about gas prices has to do with the fact that nobody went anywhere, and it cratered last year. And oil companies, notoriously friendly and kind, are trying to make up for the profits they lost last year.
Back, we're going to reorganize. Got it. Now what happens, oil starts shooting up through the roof, and Reuters reported that there's been an outreach to the oil and gas industry to bail them out. So now oil and gas should say, yeah, but I want a long-term contract. I want 3 years guarantee at this level, because you know who gets more powerful? Iran and Russia and the Middle East. That's what President Trump was able to do, and Obama didn't stop it. Unlike President Biden, who is stopping it for some elite agenda the American people didn't sign up to.
100%. So listen.
No, they did sign up for it. That's why he won 81 million votes to 74, 73. I mean, it's hard to keep up the count of all the fake votes, which Trump always loses, for the record. Whenever they find any dead people or underage voters or people who moved out of the state or voted in the wrong precinct, all Trump voters, all of them, every single one. Just get ready for just get used to the idea. Hi, buddy. Yeah. He's now curling up in my lap. Hi. Yeah. Can you hear him purring? You guys can hear him. Yeah.
I know there's a lot of rich people who don't fill up their cars. They don't shop for themselves.
They don't get out of the car.
I have 9 kids. I buy 6 gallons of milk a week. I guarantee you, I know the price of milk. Absolutely. And eggs. And
what is it?
Meat.
Even in Wisconsin.
I fill up my car. I see the price go from $2.20 to $3.20, and it has a real impact on my budget. And I just think this is so out of touch to say that this is a high-class problem. And
it's one of the worst things I've ever seen. It is the...
No, he said if we had 10% unemployment, the reason that we have inflation is partly because of the rescue and how we had to get out of it and the fact that we're dealing with COVID. And our alternative was 10% unemployment, which would be horrifying. And we're talking about food deserts.
To say that what your problems are not my problems, but go ahead.
But also, I think to fix a problem, you have to recognize the problem exists, right? And you can't fix it if you don't know that it's impacting the very people you say you want to help. So let me run this by you. So we're $28 trillion in debt, right? And
yeah, basically, imagine if you make in a year what your entire house costs. You say your salary is $125,000 a year, and your house costs $125,000.
This year, Democrats spent $1.9 trillion on a COVID relief package when the last year's COVID money wasn't spent yet. They're going to spend $1.2 trillion.
Yeah, because of priorities, and you have to allocate it to where it's actually going. So Trump's version of a rescue package was a failure in a lot of ways because a lot of people just didn't qualify for that money, and it just doesn't get used, and then it gets folded back into the budget, or just it's never spent. That money is not just printed and sitting there in a bank to be handed out like there's a robbery going on.
On an infrastructure package, and they want to spend $3.5 trillion on a reconciliation package, which Larry Kudlow will tell you it's over $5 trillion. You add up.
Yeah, but that's because Larry's drunk.
That up. That's $8 trillion of new spending this year alone. And
yeah, but except for it's not. And the 3.5 is paid for by tax increases, and it's over 10 years. It's prorated. It's not 8 trillion this year. That's the bullshit. Notice the wording. What was that again? Say that again real quick. Hold on. Let me back him up, because this is a trick that happens all the time. Back that up.
Which Larry Kudlow will tell you it's over $5 trillion. You add all that up, that's $8 trillion of new spending this year.
$8 trillion of new spending this year alone. Listen to the size of that lie.
reconciliation package, which Larry Kudlow will tell you it's over $5 trillion.
But he would say it as so.
Add all that up, that's $8 trillion of new spending this year alone. And if you...
No, it's not. That is a 10-year spending package. Divide 8 by 10. Right.
Borrow and spend and print more money, what impact is that going to have on inflation?
It is going...
Well, if you're building roads and reinforcing the infrastructure and providing, internet to people that don't currently have it, if people in Idaho and Wyoming and Kansas and rural Missouri had the same quality of internet as Silicon Valley does, I don't know, what kind of impact do you think that would have on people being able to do business or get jobs they previously could not get because they'd have to relocate their entire family, but now they could work for a Wall Street firm, or they could work in a bigger firm in Chicago or one of the other big hubs, but do it from home, and do it virtually because they have quality internet. And therefore, that person would be making a lot more money, paying more taxes, hence the paid for.
To escalate inflation, it's going to extend the inflationary cycle, and people like Larry Summers aren't for this. And here's the thing, Sean, as you know, it's happening behind closed doors. They're not trying to win the American people over. They feel as though they won the American people over by the results of the 2020 election. So it's behind closed doors. They don't care what you think. The problem...
Well, no, it's happening quite out in the open. Manchin and Sinema and the progressives and Nancy Pelosi and Biden, and they're working out the parts of it that they can get through their caucus.
And I think that they don't want to hear it, but Senator Sinema and Senator Manchin deserve the gold medal in terms of patriotism, because they're standing up and saying this makes no sense. 2.5 weeks of pressure, being harassed in Sinema's case into the bathroom and to the airports and out on a marathon day. She's saying...
Well, technically speaking, all she has to do is give what her details would be that would make the bill palatable for her. I don't support them chasing her into the bathroom. That's ridiculous. Don't do it. You should be embarrassed if you do anything even remotely like that. It's gross. Especially, there were dudes following her in there. No. Hi, buddy.
Not only am I not signing on to this, you didn't sign on to the $1.2 trillion, which I asked you to do, which I worked hard on. So I'm not even looking at the 3.5. And Joe Manchin had the audacity to say this: you still haven't told me what's in it. How do you want to do?
No, the bill is printed. You can look at what's in it. They do know what's in it. Excuse me 1 second. Let's see. How about a text? How about do the text of build back better bill. Let's see if you can't even find it. There we go. You can't even tell me what's in it. Well, here's a good idea. Look at it. There it is. Let's see. The funds made available under this subtitle are subject to the condition that the Secretary shall not enter an agreement that is for term extended beyond September 2031. Additional support for USDA Office of the Inspector General. Education matters. Let's see. Rebuild America Schools subgrants to eligible local education agencies. And the amount of money for each of these. State matching requirement on these bills. So they double what they're actually going to get, because the states will get certain funds, but they have to match it with their own funds. They can get as much of that allocated fundage. Let's say there's $100 billion. The states can have it as long as they can match whatever they're asking for. So if they want $3 billion, they got to put up $3 billion. If they can't, or they won't, then they don't get any, and they're not on the hook for any of it. Bureau of Indian Education, gets $369 million to retain available until September 30th, 2026 for necessary expenses related to construction, repair, improvement, and maintenance of buildings, utilities, and other facilities necessary for the operation of Indian education programs, including architectural and engineering services by contract, acquisition of lands, and interest in lands, of which no more than 3% shall be used for administrative costs to carry out this section. So this is 3%. So this makes sure that it's not eaten up with, graft. It has to go into the actual building. Gallaudet University, the Grow Your Own programs as an appropriation for, in addition to amounts otherwise available, there is appropriated to the Department of Education for fiscal year 2022 out of the money in the Treasury not otherwise appropriated. So whatever's left over, let's say $197 million to remain available through September 30th, 2025 to award grants for the development and support of Grow Your Own programs as described in Section 202, the Higher Education Act of 1965. In general, an eligible partnership that receives a grant under this section shall carry out an effective Grow Your Own program to address shortages of teachers in high-need subjects, field schools, geographical areas, or shortages of school teachers in high-need schools, and to increase the diversity of qualified individuals entering into the teacher, principal, or other school leader workforce. Just hiring more teachers. Money for hiring a teacher. That's, and Joe and Brian, it's in there. And how much? And that amount is not it's not sacrosanct. That's how much is allocated. That's the most that can be allocated out of the eligible funds. If less of eligible funds are available, then less money goes out to that. Support school principals, teacher residencies. Let's see, there's appropriated Department of Education for fiscal year 2022 out of any money the Treasury has not otherwise appropriated, $198 million to remain available through September 30, 2025 to award grants for the development and support of high-quality teaching residency programs as described in the Higher Education Act of 1965, except that amounts available under this section shall be available for residency programs for prospective teachers in a bachelor's or master's degree program. This is just the hiring of more community college and university teachers. And these are largely HBCUs. State and local financial aid. Hi, buddy. Hi. Let's just scroll down. Let's do a needle drop down here. Federal student aid eligibility. Section 484A5 of the Higher Education Act of 1965 is amended by inserting this quote, or with any respect to any grant, loan, or work assistance received under the title for awards years 2022, 2023 through 2029, 2020, and 2030 be subject to a grant of deferred enforced departure or have deferred action pursuant to the deferred action or childhood arrivals policy of the Secretary of Homeland Security or temporary protected status. This is the DACA stuff. After becoming that their student loan is deferred until after they become a citizen under DACA. Now, I got news for you. This section right here, this section 20032, is probably going to get stripped out or already has been by the Senate parliamentarian. But anybody who pretends they don't know what the fuck is in this just doesn't want to look it up. Just flat out playing dumb. Except in Kilmeade, except in all fairness, in Kilmeade's situation, he's not playing.
I want to know what I want out of it. Tell me what's in it. And they're just
what?
Things that the average American lawmaker does. They're representing their state like you did in Wisconsin, and they're not representing their party. And I just appreciate it. That's what the American people need.
Like Manchin and Sinema.
Democrats, but be Americans first.
Right, and
you're kidding, right? Because that's precisely what's happening. Everybody is arguing from the point of view of what they think is best for Americans. They just have a disagreement about it. Meanwhile, your side stormed the fucking Capitol.
I'm not sure how long they can withstand that pressure, specifically Sinema. We're going to talk about that later in the show. But you brought up something interesting. We're looking at the bottlenecks in shipping in California. You see,
in California.
50, 60 ships out in the harbor off the coast of California.
50, 60 ships. It was 1,000 ships when Trump talked about it.
It's over 70.
You can't unload them. There's not enough dock workers. There's not enough shippers.
There's not enough shippers? You mean people who love dock workers?
To your point, it's interesting because what this tells me is that we can't buy Gatorade or toilet paper or toys unless it comes from China. What the heck has happened to American manufacturing that our whole economy...
I don't know. What the fuck was happening for the last 4 years?
Our whole way of life is reliant on China. And do you think this is a message to policymakers and to Americans that we have to bring that supply chain back home and make things here in America?
Yeah, but you know what that's going to do? Drive up prices. One of the reasons you're also seeing a rise in prices is because you're seeing the stuff that you buy in America from Americans who don't want to work for slave wages or be forced into it.
He mentioned it yesterday, but where's the plan behind it yesterday?
Look on the White House website. You're on the news. You should read this shit.
Do you understand if he explained to us in Afghanistan why we needed to be there, the American people would have had a lot more patience. You know why we need to be there? It's looking at between China, Iran, Russia, and Pakistan. You know why?
Yeah, that's not why we need to be there.
Needed to be there. The people that want to blow us up are located there. They train there.
No.
The American people get that. If you say, listen.
No, most of the people who want to blow us up are all over the Middle East now in small enclaves. We don't need to hang out in Afghanistan making more of them.
3 years, and I was here for 30, 40 years. I should have seen this coming in the 80s, but I didn't see it in the 90s. I thought it was a great idea in 2000, but in 2021, these ships indicate to me that we have to reconfigure. So within the next 3 years, we're going to start bringing these industries back at this rate. American people are all in for a plan. I wouldn't mind a plan. You can't give me an 8-year plan because you only got 4, but give me a 3-year plan. And then we could be maybe on the same page. But Instead,
you have to pretend that they aren't doing exactly that and pretend that there aren't factories coming here and that there are deals made specifically to address shortcomings in the supply chain.
He blames Trump, and then he blames, he says it's only a rich person's problem.
And here's the problem.
No, Ron Klain's not saying it's a rich person's problem.
If you look at this reconciliation package, you're going to have more Green New Deals, rules, and regulations. You're going to increase taxes and make more companies not come back to America, but more companies are going to leave America and go to more favorable locations where they can manufacture and not be taxed to death or regulated to death.
Right. And my last point on this.
Well, right, where no one cares about the water or doesn't give a shit about poisoning the locals. Yeah, we are a bit persnickety as Americans about how much, like, toluene and benzene you can drop into the rivers.
The reason why I feel good about what I'm about to say is that a Democrat said it. Senator Manchin says there's way too much green energy in this. I'm from an energy state. This is the wrong time to cut back on oil and gas. There's a global shortage. That's reasonable, logical, and not ideological. It is a relief. I hope he holds the line. It's been 2 weeks. And if they can't do it both together in a certain amount of time, the year runs out, reconciliation.
By the way, China's running out of coal right now. Manchin's in a coal state. Just remember that.
The reconciliation clock goes out.
It loses steam in the next election comes up. I'm going to give you one piece of advice on how I think we fix at least part of it. We have a big trucking shortage in America. Only 3 things have to happen to fix, trucking, the 18-wheelers that go down the street. You have to increase the hours of service for truckers from 11 hours, go to 12 hours a day. You can increase the weight limits in the truck so they can carry more stuff.
Great idea.
And along with it, accidents. So burned out drivers driving bigger trucks and falling asleep at the wheel. Okay, go ahead.
Individuals who are 21 years old, they're the only ones who can drive interstate. Move it down to 18.
Right.
I was talking to you about this. You can drive a tank. You can shoot a missile.
So immature, tired, heavy truck drivers on speed. Okay.
You can die for your country at 18. You should be able to drive an 18-wheeler if you're appropriately trained. We'll get more kids out of high
Yeah, except
school driving truck and moving goods across the country. Those are simple things the administration could do to ease up the burden on truckers and get more product moving. Am I wrong?
Or our transportation secretary doing that. You got to put kids in school. You got to put recruiters in schools. Just say, hey, guys, by the way.
Truck recruiters in schools. That's what you need. How many? How many per school do we have truck recruiters?
You got college to choose from or a community college that's going to be free. But I just want to give you an opportunity here to let you know you could be making $70,000 or more.
Yeah, they do that, stupid. There are, but you just can't do interstate trucking because the guys who do the interstate trucking want the big dough.
right out of college.
Year one.
And we will train you in year one, and maybe some of that money towards training those drivers. I think it's effective. Also, William Lajeunesse educated me, even though the president decreed that 24 hours, that one dock is going to be open, which is going to do much. They said it's going to take months in order to get the dock set and the workers laid out.
Yeah, because we're coming out of a pandemic, dipshit.
In order to even make that open 24 hours, it's been only open 12 hours, and that was only one port. That is not a plan.
Sorry, this is also a plan, a problem Trump could have seen coming last year. Did he do anything about the coming bottleneck in the supply chain before he left office? After he left, or is he arguing that there's a way to do this stuff? Is there anywhere in this where he's got, oh, this was Trump's plan to deal with the shortage of truckers or the shortage of port space or robots to take, or cranes and automation to take stuff off? I have a cat crawling on my lap. There you go. Simmer. There you go.
Trump would have been there with a bullhorn telling these cargo ships where to pull in. He would have been helping dock those.
The hard hat on.
He would have been there.
This is not a plan.
Who?
That was only one port. That is not a plan. Trump would have been there with a bullhorn telling these cargo ships where.
Bullshit. Based on what? The fact that he sat in a truck when it was in front of the White House and pulled the horn and pretended to drive? What are you talking about?
Pull in. He would have been helping dock those.
The hard hat on.
He would have been there.
This is not a
No, he would not have.
save Christmas. You're right. I mean, unless you're shopping early, you're not going to be shopping at all. So,
right.
Brian Kilmeade, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you joining.
Unless you're shopping early for Christmas, you're not going to be shopping at all. Just garbage. Just piss on America nonsense. And covering for the idea that Trump would have had a magic plan. Hit a magic plan! Yeah! Whoa! Did I wake you up? I'm sorry. I was singing and I woke up the kitty. Sorry, hold on. Hi, buddy. Yeah. Did Murphy come down? Don't attack him if he's using the potty. Just leave him alone. So, he's a magic plan. All right. So, honest to God, nonstop bullshit.
Kudlow today.
Absolutely. Now, do you guys have anything in the green room, or should I just go home? Have you put a spread, or the Danish, or anything at all?
Water.
Yeah, it's good when it's a great time to talk about food shortages and expenditures and all stuff, and then just talk about the giant food spread that's waiting for him in the green room. That doesn't sound like Ron Klain. You're off the hook.
That's about it
for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
To the green room.
Tap?
Yeah, exactly. All right, Brian Kilmeade, thank you. Brian.
Tap? You mean tab?
Okay, thank you very much.
To the green room.
Tap?
Yeah, exactly. All right, Brian Kilmeade, thank you.
They have beer on tap in the green room?
Kilmeade's new book, The President and the Freedom Fighter, on shelves November 2nd. Catch him on his book tour kicking off in Charleston, West Virginia on November 7th, Orlando, Florida on November 21st, Point Verde,
Frederick Douglass, I hear he's doing a lot of great stuff these days.
December 3rd, Clearwater, Florida, December 4th, and Asbury Park, New Jersey on May 21st of next year. By the way, I've
3 stops in Florida, 1 stop in West Virginia, so he can bitch about Manchin or praise him and try to drive a wedge between Democrats. And then, of course, New Jersey, because he just gets to, it's a drive.
His last book, and it is awesome. It's their page turner, so order early. Me now is...
Well, you have to order it early because it's printed in China, so there's not going to be anything, they're going to be gone. If you shop earlier, you're not going to be shopping at all. I think from the top of this, we had Diamond and Silk talking about a pumpkin shortage, Roseanne Barr gibberish, Judge Janine saying she's not even sure who's running things in the White House, even though the bill is exactly stuff that Biden ran on. Tucker's saying, what's the point of government, of having a government? Interviewing a Republican from the state of Maine who doesn't know how many EMTs they're losing at midnight and has no solution to deal with it at all. And then, what's her name? Christina Bobb, still just trying to sell it. Still trying to convince you that there's a there in Arizona, and then Wisconsin. It's just, if we could just get Pennsylvania turned around, and if we could just get Georgia turned around, everything's going to be, and then Trump will be back in office before you know it. It's not going to happen. It's not happening. And I was on a radio show promoting the Sexy Liberal show in Madison, Wisconsin this Saturday. Come on down. There's some tickets still available. And then, of course, you can live stream it, sexyliberal.com. And when I was talking to them about it, like, the host was like, he's convinced Trump is going to run in 2024. I don't buy it. There's too much time between now and then. No. He's going to be milking the money, pretending to run this entire time. It's years away, and he's just going to get physically and mentally worse during this time. Sorry, I'm committing to that thought. I'm all in on Trump's deterioration. Just get used to the idea.